All right, so we are all about establishing baselines. If we are setting a goal, for instance, to lose weight, doesn't make much sense, or to lose body fat, to decrease your BMI, doesn't make much sense to start down the path to weight loss until you hop on a scale, or to get a caliper test, check what your body fat index is, maybe get some blood drawn to see where you are as far as your different levels. That is a baseline. I suggest you do that if you're trying to get healthier. But as far as a baseline for where your business is at right now, let's rate ourselves on a scale of 1 to 10 for the following, so we know where our starting point is. As far as our clinical skill set, on a scale of 1 to 10, where is our clinical skill set? Are there any students in the room? All right. Don't give yourself more than a 1. Not there yet. Okay, your clinical suite, scale of 1 to 10. Where are you as far as the procedures that you want to be able to provide? Are you trained to do those yet? How well do you perform them? Scale of 1 to 10. Okay, your overall business acumen. Where would you rate your overall business acumen? Can you read a P&L? Do you know the difference between a cash flow statement and a balance sheet? Do you know how a dollar flows through your practice? Do you understand billing? Do you understand accounts receivable? Do you understand EBITDA, profitability? We're going to talk about all of this stuff, but be honest with yourself right now. As it stands right now, where would you rate your overall business acumen? All right, operational systemization and efficiencies. This is a biggie. People call me the systems guy in dentistry. There's more to a successful practice than systems, for sure. I think leadership is up there as one of the more important things to develop before you even get systemized. But where are you as far as systemization goes? Does the practice feel chaotic and stressful? What happens on any given day when you have an emergency exam come in or the schedule falls apart? Do we feel overwhelmed, overly busy? What do the hallways look like? What does the supply room look like? How systemized are we? How efficient are we? Scale of 1 to 10. And practice culture. This is a biggie. Is there drama? Sure that nobody out there experiences drama in their dental practice. How's the communication in your dental practice? Do you have agreed upon core values and do you live by them in your dental practice? Scale of 1 to 10. Patient acquisition. Do we know where our new patients come from? What percentage, what comes from where? Is it external marketing? Is it internal? What's the return on investment for every marketing dollar that we spend? If we spend a marketing dollar out, send a marketing dollar out into the world, how many dollars come back for that investment? What's your ROI? Patient acquisition. Not only do you acquire new patients, but do you know how you get them and what the cost per acquisition is? Overhead and cash flow control. We're going to be talking a ton about this weekend. Some of the very, very cool case studies that we're going to be doing involve overhead and cash flow control, EBITDA, and what people have done, the tweaks that they have made. There's going to be some really cool information that we share and some very cool case studies that put it into practical use. It's going to be worth the price of admission. But for you right now, how is your overall overhead and cash flow control. If you don't know what your overhead is currently and the amount of cash that you're retaining after your monthly break even every month, if you don't know that number, then you can't give yourself a high number on overhead and cash flow control. Okay, now personal take-home income. Personal take-home income. This one is pretty telling. Are you bringing home as much in personal take-home income that is commensurate with your value? Ooh, that's a gut check, isn't it? Do I deserve to bring home more? Well, if your numbers are anywhere, say, between 0 and 5 for the first few questions on this business baseline, then maybe you don't deserve right now to take home more. And as we increase the numbers on those questions, then maybe you will be deserving of more money. And then overall career satisfaction. We talk about all the time, it is a fact, less than 50% of dentists are satisfied with their career. Greater than 50% of dentists wish that they would have selected a different career path and would change it if they could go back in time and change it. What is your overall career satisfaction rating? A scale of 1 to 10. Sorry, students, I don't mean to scare you away. It's just the reality of dentistry. And if you're not straight 10s across the board, do you have a plan in place to bridge the gaps between where you are now and where you want to be? That's what this weekend is all about. Okay, now establishing your personal baseline. Back in 2012, when we had our very first Dental Success Summit, we didn't talk about personal stuff. We talked about bottom line and top line and profitability and efficiencies and systemization. What we didn't realize at the time was that I was creating a lot of people that were going down the same road that I went down. And that was burnout, disenchantment with the profession, wanting to do anything else besides clinical dentistry. Even though I had hit my financial goals, I wasn't satisfied and I wasn't fulfilled. I was pretty darn burnt out. And we were realizing that we were training people to become versions of what I had become. And then we made a hard pivot into the 4 futures and started focusing more on a composite lifestyle, becoming a composite human. And then we realized that when you focus more on the other 3 quadrants, is much more easy to accomplish your financial goals. So, from a very high level here, what is your score for clarity, purpose, and legacy in your life right now on a scale of 0 to 10? And if it's just kind of a feeling, and I just kind of think that I want to do this, and I kind of think that I stand for this, that's not clarity of purpose. That's not a definitive legacy plan. So give yourself a low score. If you have developed that, then give yourself a high score. How about your personal relationships? One of the things that was the canary in the coal mine for me was that I was starting to achieve financial success beyond what I ever thought that I could achieve. But when I took a good hard look in the mirror at the other aspects of my life, my personal health, my ability to handle stress, my general disposition, I realized that I was failing in a lot of different areas of my life, particularly in my personal and professional relationships. That was the time when I realized that I had to make a change. So for you, how would you rate your personal relationships right now? One of the things that we do in dentistry is that we give our best to the patients and the team. And the people that we're doing it all for when we come home get the scraps. If that resonates with anybody, then I would say that your personal relationships would be a low score. I'm not judging you guys. I'm not casting stones because I've been there. But be honest with yourself. Where are you as far as your personal relationships? This goes for team members too. Your overall health and fitness, where does that fall? Where does your overall health and fitness fall? Are you putting healthy food and fuel into your body? Are you hydrating regularly, like Alistair was saying during the 4 Futures assessment? Do you crash around 2 o'clock every day? Do you exercise every day? Do you have a sleep routine? What's your overall fitness, energy, and vibrancy look like? That's the next one, energy level and vibrancy. How about work-life balance? Some people say this is a fallacy. I don't know if I believe that. Some people say that there's no such thing as work-life balance. And I think when they say that, they mean that you should be enjoying everything that you do, and your family time and your work time should just be one kind of blend of awesomeness. But I do believe that there has to be a definitive line between when you are focusing on business and when you are focusing on your personal relationships. How would you rate that, your work-life balance? All right, happiness, fulfillment, and peace of mind. How do you rate that? There's a lot of things I'm going to talk about here in a minute that go deeper into happiness, fulfillment, and peace of mind. A little hint is that our primitive lizard brains are working against us all the time. We are genetically predisposed as a survival instinct to not generally be that happy and to focus on negative things. It's a survival instinct. We're going to talk a lot more about that, and I'm going to give you some suggestions on how to overcome our natural genetic predispositions. But awareness is the first step to that. So if you're not generally happy, even though you think you should be, that's okay. Don't beat yourself up. We're going to talk about that in a second. If you're not straight 10s across the board, do you have a plan in place to bridge the gaps? Okay, leadership. This is the last self-assessment. Leadership. Masterminders, you've taken these assessments many, many times. Don't take for granted that we need to take them again, because they change from day to day, week to week, month to month, year to year. So take this leadership assessment. How are we evolving as a leader? Okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, I have clearly defined my expectations for each person on my team. Does each person on your team know what success looks like for their position? Scale of 1 to 10, where would you fall? Everybody on your team, do they know what success looks like? Have you taken for granted that what is in your head should be there in their head, miraculously, somehow? The next one, each person on my team has a clear understanding of what it takes to be successful in their position. It's an extension of that first one that I was just talking about. Scale of 1 to 10. Next, I have provided each team member all of the resources and support to be successful. Next, I hold each team member accountable for the responsibilities of their position on a scale of 0 to 10. Where do you fall there? I was guilty of this for years and years. You overhear a conversation at the front desk and it makes your skin crawl. But you're in the middle of a molar root canal, so you say that you will handle it later. At the end of the day, when you're supposed to handle it and have a difficult conversation, you're too exhausted to talk about it. You just don't want to open the can of worms. All you want to do is leave for the day and go home. It's been a tough, long day. And so you put it off until tomorrow. And at the morning huddle, you see Mrs. Jones on your schedule. She has another freaking denture sore spot and post-op sensitivity. And the urgency of the day takes over the important stuff. I regularly assess each team member's performance openly, communicate with them, and put a plan in place for any areas that need improvement. As owners of dental practices, as office managers, as department leads, many times we do assume that people can read our minds, or we expect people to read our minds. In any relationship that you have in life, the main reason that people have conflict is unverbalized expectations, right? If you expect your team members to do something and you think really, really hard about it and you hint around it and maybe you tell them one time but never remind them again, that's not leadership. That's expecting them to read your mind. Verbalized expectations, written expectations even better, are the fastest way to correct a leadership issue. All right, each team member is aware of the foundational principles in the practice. Have you taken the time to create core values, mission, and vision with your team? And do you live by them? Each team member is aware of long-term goals of the practice. They talk about this in 4 disciplines of execution. They say that of the 100 practices that they would walk into, or 100 businesses that they would walk into, and ask the employees of those businesses, what are the 3 primary objectives of your business this year? They found out that 90% of the people that they asked that question to had no idea. So, if somebody walked into your practice tomorrow and asked everybody on your team, what are the 3 primary objectives for your practice this year? Would they be able to articulate that? And if they can't articulate that, how, as a team, are we supposed to get to our desired outcome? So, if that is the case for your practice, don't beat yourself up. We can work on that this weekend. If you're not straight 10s across the board, do you have a plan in place to bridge the gaps?